morning, everybody. How was breakfast? I quite like the eggs. I think that worked out really well. So when they first asked me, would you look at coming out and maybe telling some of your story, I thought to myself, well, that's really, really nice, but I'm not entirely sure, why it's really relevant or that interesting, and I don't know what I really did that was worth talking about. So, but thank you. And I thought, well, we are a, $10 million Alberta software company that was grown right here at home out of a whiteboard I drew in my parents' basement. Maybe there's a story. Okay, maybe there's a story. And I realized something. I was doing it too. I had read this article and I put it out on Pinterest and my Twitter feed, and I was like, what the heck? And this is what it said. It said, if you post an executive job position and you are a man and you read it and you have 7 out of 10 of those qualifications, when you apply, you will say, I have everything. I'm your guy. I can do all of this and then some. And if you're a woman, we will actually seek feedback and say, I don't know. I got 7 out of 10. I might disappoint them. Should I try? I thought, oh my God. So when I read that, I immediately, like all of you said, well, that's absolutely crazy. I'd never do that. I'm not the kind of person. Don't be crazy. And then I thought to myself, I just did that in another way. So I said, okay, forget it. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to spend 30 minutes just bragging and then bragging and bragging. I mean, it's for all of us. I'm going to do it for all of us. So please just drink coffee and stay with me. This is for all of us. No, hopefully I can do something a little more than that with you today. I hope to be able to share with you some of the honest struggles, some of the lessons that were the hardest to learn, and some of the best pieces of advice that I had on my journey. And I really think it's an amazing mosaic when you realize where you're standing. It's because so many people gave little pieces of themselves and it became a part of you. And sometimes it's gritty advice and sometimes it's not. But it's your mosaic and it's your story, so own it. And I'm going to try to tell you a little bit about mine and hopefully a couple of the pieces in my mosaic belong somewhere, maybe in yours or someone you know. So that kind of would be my goal. That's you can follow me on Twitter. I try to say things I think are interesting, so you'll decide if you agree. You can find me on LinkedIn. This gets to be our journey. For those of you that hung out late last night, we actually put in parts for a draw. Now, I do have one ask when we draw for this car later. It is our Pantone color, and I paid a lot for the paint job. So if you win it, you got to keep the color. But really, it's about faster, better, stronger. And we take this journey today. That's our ride, and I'm still gunning for it. There's 3 things that I want to cover. The one is know your numbers. I know you know your numbers. I know you get this piece, but I'm going to tell you some stories of how hard knowing your numbers can hit you and how empowering it can be when you really have a feel for that. I'm going to take you through a couple horror show spreadsheets and pivot tables and everything else. It won't be that bad, I promise. See, you're going to be like, lady, I'd like to go back to the bragging. At least it might be entertaining. No. I'll try to get you through the spreadsheets and it'll be pretty good. I want to talk about choosing your business model. And when I talk about choosing your business model, there's a lot of ways you can set it up. You could be, an independent consultant. You can be someone who's truly building to sell. You can be somebody who wants to be about leadership and growing people. And sometimes we make these assumptions because we get guidance from other people or inspired from somebody who has a certain type of model. And I want to challenge how you decide what model works for you. And I want to say that it's about heart, and it's about passion, and it's what drives you, it's your fuel. And so when you choose your model, it has to truly be aligned with your heart. And sometimes we don't look at it like that. And I hope if nothing else, you kind of go, huh? I didn't thought of it like that. I remember the first time I did, and I was like, oh, that's kind of good. Because I found out a little bit about myself as I looked at these different structures. Then I want to talk about brand pyramid. And I know we know a lot about brand pillars and brand this and brand that. But it's about owning your brand, and it's about owning it to your core. And it's about being authentic in your brand and using it as one of the most powerful documents that live in your company, and just running forward with it. I did bring some backup. If any of these documents you're like, yeah, I could maybe use a little bit of that, you can email me, you can ask for it on Twitter, I can give you some hard copies. So truly that is my goal, that something resonates in it and you say, hey, that could be usable. That's what I'm going for. Before we jump in, I'll tell you a little bit about my story and how much I like flowers, really. Because I see there's beautiful tulips here, and I'm quite happy about that. So I started off in '97, and I opened, well, go back up further than that. We were in university, and I was doing my commerce degree, and we were doing business plans. And I said, you know, health is really emerging. This is really cool stuff. I'd gone to this crazy alternative shop in Toronto, and I thought, I could definitely do that. I wasn't actually that serious about it. But I did this business plan very competitively, and a friend did one on these really great jeans that look great on your butt, and then Miss Me, it turned into a thing from Macy's, and no, I'm joking. That's not her story, but it would have been a good one. But we wrote this business plan, and I wrote it, and I remember standing on the street corner, and I was doing a summer job in between university, and I was going into my 3rd year, and I was staring at this piece of paper that wanted to lend me a whole heck of a lot of money from RBC Bank, plus give me a huge operating line. And I'm really a Scrooge, and I had saved some cash while at school still, and I thought, oh, okay. And that was it. 97, I took the plunge, and I opened up this health food store while continuing and trying to finish my degree. From there, I realized that we put health food up front, and I rented out back offices, so it's kind of a mixed model, right? We could pay a base rate with all these people in rent, which would give me guaranteed income, and then I'd take a percentage off of anything they made. So I figured, hey, that's good, this is gonna work. And then I realized that if they phoned people and did a reminder, I actually got 23% more dollars. I like 23 more percent. Who would like 23 more percent? It was good. It's your revenue number, right? Okay, good. So we need this. So I spent a few months saying to the people, hey, do your reminders. Hey, can I help you? Hey. And life is busy for all of us, so it wasn't really working. I said, oh my God, this is madness. I can do much better than this. I grew up with a dad who was a programmer in the 70s. I did write my first program when I was 9 years old in an object-oriented software, COBOL. I swore I'd never go into it because you end up being geeky and boring and awful, so it wasn't going to happen. I opened a health food store. And it's kind of the same. So there I was, hadn't really, I was doing a commerce degree, but nothing in comp-sci. I was doing marketing major. And I said, I know this will work because I always read a lot about it, and I stayed in technology for fun, but it was strictly for fun. We're going to use telephony systems. We're going to get all these people to record their own voices. We're going to splice them together, and we're going to make it really awesome. And then that way, I'm going to get 23%, and I'm going to be happy. But they're at least going to be calling their customer in their voice. It's going to have our name on the phone. It's going to feel good because, I really cared. I cared a lot. Okay, here we go. That was a great story. And we started this company, and we started it with, I said to my dad, I said, hey, I've got $30,000, you've got $30,000, let's start this. And then once he came to the table with me, I said, actually, I lied. I used to have $30,000 before I started this store, but I'm going to get another $30,000, I'll make $60,000, let's get started. But hey, they're dads, what can they do? They got them at that point. So I did, I had them. So I did actually pay him back that 30 grand. We started this company called Simply Health Systems, and we started licensing it out to other practitioners. Today, we actually still have that system in operation for some different, dog groomers, health food, dental stores. But from that, I learned some really big lessons. Number one, long tail is tough. It's tough to go into that long, small to medium enterprise and look for all of those millions of yeses. And we were driving really great top-line revenue at Simply Health, but our bottom-line revenue was really, really tough. It was really tough all the time. I was working probably harder than retail, and I don't know, I was winning as much as I was losing, and I was losing as much as I was winning. And I sat there and I said, oh please, there's got to be another way. And that's when I sort of headed out for lots more advice and started talking to people. And I'll tell you a crazy story when we get to cash flow about how we sort of made the transition at that time. But out of that, I said, well, I know we have this amazing intellectual property, and we've done evaluation with KPMG, and they said, there's a lot here. So we launched SPLICE at that time. We sold the intellectual property out of Simply Health Systems into SPLICE. The year prior, thank God, I'd sold my health food store for a profit. So that was like awesome, right? It worked. And then I went to the middle, and I was like, that kind of came together. But the experience was amazing. And the things I learned about myself and about how to grow were phenomenal. And so all of a sudden, SPLICE was born. And our goal was to take this infrastructure we built and this product and this splicing and this database integration and blah, 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 technical, and sell it out to large-scale enterprise. And I still remember our first big contract. And it wasn't like big, but it was our first big. You know, so when you were running a health food store, what do you think the average till take went to? What do you spend there? Sometimes they're big, but what does big mean at the health food store? Yeah, 35. I mean, I'd freak myself out to 400 for some protein powder, some antioxidants, but, you know, but it still is not a big number. Simply Health was an organization that was all for small to medium enterprise, so we had hundreds and hundreds of customers, again, you know, spending hundreds and hundreds a month, but not thousands. So we got our first big customer, and it took 2 conference calls, a fax, and a couple email. I think it was about 6, and truly I tracked this, and it was $27,000. I was like, well, I guess the numbers speak for themselves. And the best part is, they loved it. And they said, oh my gosh, it's never been more efficient. This has never worked better. We can't believe what just happened. We're so excited. We'd like to sign, you know, a $260,000 contract and do this 10 times a year. And oh my gosh. And so it was an amazing experience. And, you know, obviously we did some research first to know that those numbers were there. But my story there is how you get there is sometimes not always clear. Wherever you're sitting today, it's hard to know exactly where you're going. It's really important to know where you're going when you get in a car that hot. I mean, it's important. But you won't always, you know, you're allowed to change your mind, and it's never a bad thing. So really right now, times are good. We're selling in Canada. We're selling more in the US now than Canada. We just tipped that scale. We're in the United Kingdom. We're in India, and we're moving into South America, and we just got to get better at, you know, just growing this thing and being the brand and being the name and owning our vision. But it's such an amazing thing. But I'll tell you, reality kicked in a huge, hard way when I realized I had to make that change, because I had built out something I believed in so much in the splicing of these voices and into the reminder system. And I think the hard lessons in life come when you get those really big gut checks. So change is ahead. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of the change. Don't be afraid of things you don't understand. I will tell you, you know, in all brutal honesty, when we decided to sell, when I decided to sell to large enterprise and we decided together as part of our team, I had not a little bit of experience selling to large enterprise. I had no experience. And going for help and finding somebody else that did was so critical. So you can head into somewhere that you haven't been if you're confident about who you are. And I unfortunately missed Arlene last night. I've heard her a few times and had a chance to meet her, and she's so awesome. And I love that she talked about that, about knowing who you are and having that deep-rooted belief. Because when you know you have something that's deeply valuable, it's not that hard to charge into that crazy forest, because somebody will be there to help you out, and that's what networking is about. So times are pretty good. Innovation matters. Had we not taken the time to be innovative in what we had built, it would not have made that transition. Innovation does not just happen in technology, it happens in your process, it happens in your customer care, it happens in the fact that you look at something with a fresh set of eyes and you say, aha, I see this, I can do this a little better, a little different, and I can own this. I can own this as part of my brand. And so innovation is a critical piece that you have to have as one of your ingredients. So yeah, the fruits of your labor happen, and it's really awesome, and I love apples, it's my favorite fruit. But I'll tell you an awesome story about the mirror, and this is about being really honest with yourself. So lately, a lot of great things have happened for us, and I constantly think to myself, oh my God, how did I get so lucky? But we were invited, SPLICE, I was personally invited to do this program in Silicon Valley, and some of you know half of the story, not the whole thing. I got this email from, I think, like 9 people. You should really do this. It's tech women, it's through the consulate, you go to Silicon Valley, you meet other people in tech, and they'll teach you how to be better, faster, and stronger. I said, great, I need that. We all need that. And so I put in this application. So then I said, well, I know nothing about this. I haven't asked for this kind of help before. How do I do this? And they said, well, you know, the most important thing is going to be, and everyone agreed on this, get letters from the most powerful people you know, like the best, like the biggest, most recognizable names. You got to have the best list, the best letters of reference. I was like, oh my God, I'm Tara Kelly from Calgary. I don't have this list. But I thought, okay, no, I have a few, let me think about that. So I thought about it a lot. I went out for a lunch that was really quite funny with a friend that I know, and she started rattling off all these names, and she's like, well, do you know Bernie from IBM? Well, why haven't you met her yet? Well, you must know Bonnie at this point, you do retail, right? She's with the bit, oh, I don't know Bonnie, I don't know Bernie. Well, she might recognize me, I don't know. But it actually was a really good experience for me, because I often just get my head into what I'm doing, and I just get my nose to the ground, and I just go. And I didn't realize that I probably should be working a lot harder at reaching out and making those connections. So truly congratulations for being here today. It's a really great choice. Don't stop. Sometimes you think, oh, my story is just, yeah. I don't know what I'd offer in this relationship. I don't want to waste somebody's time. Try not to have those thoughts in your mind. Just go out there and create great relationships. You just don't know where they're going to go. So anyways, after I finally realized I knew maybe at least 2 people that would say something nice about me that might be recognized by somebody else somewhere, I said, great, say something nice about me, please. And so they did. So I got this letter in. Her name's Patricia Glenn, and she's a great human being. Does anybody in this room know Patricia? Some of you might. She's been in technology for a super long time. Hi, Jessie, yeah, she's part of this story. And I got these great letters in from some people that were helping me out. And Patricia wrote this quite lengthy letter for me, and it was quite spectacular. And she talked about my Bachelor of Commerce degree and a couple other things. And as I read it, I had this horrible instance of looking deeply inside of the mirror, and you talk about truth and reality and who you are. Because somewhere in there, I had laid out dots along this journey of her getting to know me, and she connected those dots, and it wasn't actually the truth. Now, I wanted to go to Silicon Valley, and I cared deeply about what she thought about me and my reputation. But the truth is, somewhere between course number, God knows what, I'm 5 courses short to finish my BCom. This would be the first time I've ever said this, actually, in a huge group setting. This just happened like a month and a half ago now, a month ago. But I'm looking at this, and she's writing it like I'm finished. My store took off. I figured I had 10 years to finish the freaking thing. I had tons of time, right? Tons of time. What the heck? I had honors every year. This would be no problem. I actually had 2 children in that time. I launched the store, blah, blah, the list goes on. I absolutely am recommending everybody finish their education and go as far as they can, but my truth is I didn't. And now here was this person that I respected deeply, I cared about a lot, and this opportunity I wanted so badly. And here was this piece of paper, and I was gonna let her lie. Like, this is what this was. And it would have been so easy. Who would have found out? Like, I attended university those years. I went to the grad. I just had those, 4 extra courses I had to get. And I immediately, of course, had to get on the phone. So this is a happy ending story. And say, hey, don't know where this happened along our journey, but I didn't finish this. And I know for you, it's not a story that you've attached that much emotion. But in my world, it's something I've kind of dodged. It's kind of like it's a little bit dirty, and I just kind of stay away from it, keep it in front of it, and it's gonna be fine. And it all of a sudden was like, bam, right there. Have a look at that. Know who you are. Know what you stand for. And I thought about it on the way home, and I thought, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to call her and say this, and I don't explain it, and I didn't want to so badly, but I've always said brand Terra, which is different than brand SPLICE, and I would encourage you to know what your brand stands for. What do you stand for? This is that stuff they talk about that they would say about you if you weren't there. What do you stand for? And one of the things for me has always been, you can say honesty, but that's not the word I picked. I've always said transparency. It's deeply transparent. And there would have been nothing transparent about that action. And so for me, as much as it kind of felt crappy, it was such an easy decision. It was such a no-brainer, because I would have traded everything I stood for. I guarantee you, on your path to success, something will happen on your journey that challenges you. It's a chance to exaggerate. It's a chance to lie about something. It's a chance to reposition something. It's a chance to make something look like it's not. And I'm not talking about good marketing. It's not just packaging. But there's those moments where you know where the truth lies. And I think as we go through this, I think it's such an important part to realize those things. What do you stand for? And what matters more than those things you're trying to achieve? Because your reputation and your relationships, they're the biggest thing that you will own for your life. They're the greatest accomplishments you'll probably ever have. The rest of it is a byproduct of the journey. And for me, I'm 100% sold on that. Some finishing thoughts, I guess, on the whole Silicon Valley gig. We've had 2 other awesome offers to participate in a bigger way than what we maybe even applied for. It's an awesome program, and you'll always land on your feet if you lead with what matters. And so get rooted in that stuff and don't let go of it for anything. Those short-sighted wins just, they'll never add up for you. And I came across this picture when I was building it, and I really felt like, for me, that was one of those key moments where I could have taken this great big oak tree that I was trying to become and trying to build, and I could have just freaking cracked. But I didn't, and I think the reason was because somebody had, sort of taught you the basics, obviously truth, core values. But I think it's also about, I hate the avalanche, or not the avalanche, sorry, the iceberg one. It's just so much darker and colder, and it gives me goosebumps. But the tree analogy works for me. When you dig in those roots, and when you're deeply rooted in what motivates you, what drives you, and where you're going, you will sway a little from time to time. You will move as you need to, but you won't crack and you won't break, and you won't lose the essence of who you are. And that tree will just go forward and bear fruit and bear fruit and bear fruit and bear fruit, because it's deeply rooted in stuff that matters. And when you talk about the network of the people that you surround yourself with, that is the soil you're drinking from. Look at who that group is. What are you filling yourself with, and what do you stand for? And you know it when you're rooted. You feel it in every part of you. So, because I like terrible puns and bad analogies, I like to say, well, let's get out of the trees and move on, back to the road. Let's talk about this journey. So what are we here to actually talk about? But that's a little bit about me and kind of my glasses. That's how I look at the world. So that's the Tara story. Welcome to the future. Excellence is just ahead. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. Know your numbers. Now, how many of you have a bookkeeper that you see less than once a week? Well, that's good. A few of us. Okay. How many of you know what's in your bank account within about $200? That's even better. I think that is one of the biggest things that saved me along my journey, as I always knew if I was going to run out of cash and what I was going to have to do to get some more of it. Knowing your numbers is definitely about cash flow, and so I won't beat that one to death. But I think the other one is knowing your metrics. So how many of you in this room have employees that are part of your team? Not too many. Okay, some of us. One of the key metrics we really look at, and I'll go through the rest of these boxes here, is profit per employee. I think it's a great metric to know in your own organization. How much money do you want to churn for every person you have there? What's that metric look like? What's it look like for you when you spend time? How do you decide what opportunities to go for? Because when you're doing something pretty awesome, you're pretty excited about it, and the world's feeling it, I'll tell you, opportunity is often not your problem, focus is. Would we say that that's probably one of the #1 challenges, is figuring out which ones to sell and which ones not to sell? I see some nodding heads on that one. How many people feel like, Tara, I have my focus, we only do this and it's super easy, and I never struggle with deciding where to grow my business? Exactly, we all do. Because you never know what's a natural product extension. That's such a horrible thing to even say, a natural product extension. Oh God, what's natural? Lots of things. That's how we're crazy people. But so knowing into your balance sheet, your cost calculations, for those of you that have sort of tracked through these before, I think understanding the relationship is huge. And I actually think backing up and going through some of this stuff with your bookkeeper is a really great idea, or staying in line with your accountant of how you see these forms working together. Payroll I often keep at the bottom, because to me that's your cash flow survival piece, but I wanted to walk through sort of what I think some of these should look like. So these are key metrics that you know if you're succeeding or not. Every business should have different key metrics, and I like to look at annually, but I also break mine all down quarterly. Know what metric you're using. And maybe yours is time for goods on shipment. How many people here sit on hard goods they move? Yeah, okay, so a few of us. That one would be a metric. What are some of the metrics you would use? Can I pick on you? Do you track how long they sit there before you ship them? No. Would it be possibly a good metric? Possibly, yeah. How many of you provide a human-based service? So you provide some sort of a professional service? Yeah, okay, more of you. Do you look at your hours, different profitable hours? Do you have different billing rates, or same billing rate no matter what you do? Same. So would it be interesting to look at, if I hired somebody else in at a lesser rate to give these things to, and I did the higher value ones, would that work? Should that be a key metric? I think sometimes in business a key metric is the money you choose to say no to. Know what money you're saying no to. So if you later want to say yes to it, you know what it's worth. Right? It's sort of like when we track our ex-boyfriends. I said no to him, but he's doing pretty good now. just a thought, it's just a thought. Okay, so I think get an idea of what those metrics are and take them all the way through a traditional P&L and track them. And sometimes quarterly is excessive, but annually is often, you can't move fast enough. Unfortunately or fortunately, take your pick, the world is just going stinking fast. So you really need to know what those numbers are. I might track more than what you want to track or less than what you want to track, because I think I do spreadsheets when I want to feel comfy. It's like fuzzy socks for me. But do choose what those metrics are, because it'll empower you to make better decisions faster, and I think speed and the confidence is really important, and this is one that you run in your head. And that is a dark slide, because we're going to talk about dark times. Or not. So these are some of the basic cash flow sheets on it, and I have to say I do run them massively, and they're all pivot table together, and they aggregate up. But if you are not running sheets at that level, and we'll talk about this in business model, it depends. But if you think you're building a business to sell, start doing this right now. If you think you want to eventually have an exit anytime in the next 5 years, start doing this now, because these are your provable numbers, and this is how, when you want 90% of your forward-looking numbers, they're going to say, well, yeah, what did you do in 2006? Well, what did you say you were going to do? And when you can start proving this year over year, I said I was going to do this, and then I did this, and I said I was going to do this, and I did this, and I said I was going to do this, and then I did this, you tend to get like 85% of your forward-looking numbers, and that's how you get some of those stupid, fabulous exits. And then if you're the other guy on the opposite end of that scale, we all probably know one. Who here knows a dentist that is trying, or a chiropractor, to sell their business? Yep, there's quite a few of them, because they're retiring. And it's really hard, because they're amazing people who did a phenomenal job and made great cash, and they really don't understand why they can't get a really big number. But the point is, nobody can follow their story on math. And normally when we go into business, why do we go into business, other than the fact that we love it? Make money, right? So that's the point on this one. Is I think, especially most programs will push this stuff out for you. Push it out to Excel and play with it yourself. Don't just leave it inside the system. That really is something I think makes a big difference. Some of the other, moving into your basic cash flow, your operational pieces, and then tying them against your key metrics. Is there a particular area on spreadsheeting or planning, let's go back, that we want to look at, and anyone wants to go into further? If you look at these and say, Tara, I want to know how you did that, or how complicated, I can send you things with formulas, and then you can make them your own numbers. So if you want to talk about it more, come see me afterwards. Simply Accounting, QuickBooks, is anyone using anything different than those two? No. How many people are using just spreadsheets? That's good. Yeah, because that's really dangerous. At least once you take it to the spreadsheet and you play with it, because that's fun, then you can always go back to the accounting system and see if you're crazy, and it'll tell you. And so it's really quite conclusive. Heading down the path, when you know your numbers, you can always make these better decisions. And I think sometimes as we go, it feels like we're sitting there looking at something and it's success or failure. We're either making it or we're not. These are my key metrics, and I failed. This is a failure, so I can't go down this way. It's not really ever like that, and I think you all know that probably from your own story, but I definitely do from mine. It's plan A or plan B. I mean, the truth is, I could go back to the day of Simply Health Systems and not have launched SPLICE, and I could have went out and raised the capital. We had Myers Norris Penny reselling for us, for God's sakes, across Canada. We had so much buy-in, and really what my problem was, I was underfunded. It was working. It was totally working. We just had too much fixed, cost in our story and not enough variable, and the long tail wasn't there yet. And so I don't know if I can really stand up here and say, I'm the smartest. I sold the assets and started Nuco. Yeah. Because maybe I'd be way bigger if I would have said, no, I'm going and I'm pitching for $13 billion and I'm going to be the biggest hockey stick you've ever seen. I don't know. But it has to line up with your story, right? It's about who you are and what you want, and then it's right. So don't ever beat yourself up on that juncture, because it's just plan A and B. It's just plan A and B. It is not success and failure. You can fail or succeed at anything. I mean, you can try both, and you can try either. It's good. Success is a funny word. I'm gonna try to pick on somebody, and because there's not that many guys here, they're definitely gonna get it. So the fellow that's drinking water in the blue shirt, and I'm betting you can probably project that voice. What would you define success as? Bottom line. Okay, I think that's a good one. Profit, right? We go into business for profit. I heard somebody, his name is Rick Kazian, he said a really great thing the other day. Air, or food, right? We like food. If we don't eat food, we die. But is the purpose of life food? Nope. No, it's not. Oh, it is for some, sometimes. Right? It works. And I won't argue with that. Truly, I won't. But I think profit in some ways is similar, right? Of course, we want profit in our business, but I don't know if it's the success factor. Who else can I pick on? Can I pick on you? You got a great bouncing foot. That means she's full of energy. She's about to explode. Yes, you. What would you pick as the success? Would you think of a? It's tough, actually. She says, feeling satisfied, a big accomplishment, that you've done something. Yes, and I think this is where I'm going to get into the closing a big sale. I know, I'm going to do this. Tracy, am I allowed to do this? I heard some other people joke about things. Somebody asked me that the other day. What's better, Tara? You think really spectacular, we'll say intimate relationships, or closing a really big sale? And I said, oh God, that is tough. Because either one of them at the highest end of the spectrum is really that spectacular. It's really hard to say. And I think you probably all know that truth, Where do you do spectacular? I don't know, there's lots of room for it. So I think success is really defined when the things that matter to you and the things that you value and you stand for is how you're living your life. Money's important. Money will make us, give us opportunities and chances to influence and opportunities to do things. It'll give us a voice. It can give us a channel. There's lots of good things about it. But I think it's when the things that you deeply value and the things that you stand for match the way that you spend the hours in your day. And I'm going to take this to business model versus something really flaky, and you're saying, oh, thank God, I did not need that kind of psychology this morning. Are you serious? Is business model. This is sort of the first one, and they'll call it level one, and you can pick any words for this you want, and it's used different ways by lots of different people, but the essence of it still stands. If you are running a business that is a level one owner-driven business, you are really a key part of that client strategy. This doesn't mean you don't have people surrounding you, okay? This could be that dentist that has tons and tons of clients and onboards tons of new people, but ultimately they're completely linked to the revenue stream in this process, and they're a direct result. They push the profit and the client satisfaction. The moment you're out of the equation, it's gone. The big reason this is a really fulfilling model is because you directly feel that awesome thing called success when you close and it happens and you're attached to it. And it jazzes you and it fills your heart and that fills your tank. So it's worth a lot. A level 2 system, and I'll be really frank, this is kind of where we are right now, and it's interesting because I pop in and out of that box. I like to hopefully sometimes call myself that top talent, sales. But you can bring another top talent, and what you do is you give them strategy and implementation and development on how they can be amazing. But the really tricky thing there is they get all the squeeze, right? They are the ones squeezing and juicing and drinking the juice, and you're up there going like, yeah, team! And it is a win, but it's a different kind of win. So you have to get clear on who you are to know if that's what your success looks like. Now, truly, you can drive some bigger numbers with it, but you got to be cautious, because if you get the wrong people in that mix, sometimes the bottom line isn't any bigger. So I would encourage you to really explore these. Again, this is something I can give you, and I can give you more pros and cons of each. Because when you make decisions for your business, you want to know which structure you're trying to build. And the only way you'll know which structure you're trying to build is if you know what matters to you. Where do you get your juice? Because we drink apple juice, because I like apples, because they have the prettiest flowers. It works. And so actually a lot of people would argue that this actually is Apple, and IBM is this level 3, because no one's sure what's going to happen really without Steve Jobs, right? It's hard to say. He was deeply entrenched in driving that culture. This one, you're actually deeply detached. You're kind of steering it, you're part of acquisition, you're about the ROI, you might even be sitting on the board. This sucker is easy to sell. It's a money machine. But the emotional squeeze, the juice, that part of it, it's not quite the same. You got to be winning in another way. These typically are the larger, bigger, publicly traded. On and on she goes, but and we're gonna run out tight here on time. I do strongly encourage in any year of your business life, whether you're in year 1 or year 10 or year 20, understand which model works for you and which one matches your version of success. Because when you do that, it'll help you make the decisions to support it. So you have to have vision to pull that off, and you really better be motivated on this journey. And aligning it with what you value is where that comes from. The rewards are amazing, and you'll be racing along thinking you're flying and everything's going good, and all of a sudden something will completely come out of nowhere and totally surprise you and think, damn, that looks good. And they'll say, oh my God, it's a heart attack, it's not good at all. Because sometimes the things that look the best are the biggest nightmares. And I'm going to be really honest with you, going to India too soon probably wasn't the smartest thing we ever did. Granted, we went with some big clients and it was okay, but I'm telling you, as far as my ratios and my KPIs, I killed them. And thank God we actually then said, oh, it's a separate profit center. It has its own key metrics. So that's recovery, right? Plan A, plan B. But know that there's going to be those surprises. And that's, again, where you've got to know about those values. What are you standing for? Because it will help you through these crappy situations, because we all screw up, and at least I do, and if I'm doing it for you, because I do a few, then hey, you're lucky, you're rub off on me, I guess. Okay, so brand pyramid is the last thing that I want to talk about. And I think this is one of those things that a lot of us, especially for numbers people, and we're really driven and forward moving, sometimes it's almost too reflective, and it's too, oh God, you're kidding me, we're going to sit here and talk about what? And I think you got to sit there and talk about the what. So I did bring some copies of this one as well. Why does your business exist? And has anybody seen this on TED Talks? Yeah, you have, awesome. I'm going to share it out maybe today or tomorrow. It's an amazing talk. This is your why. Don't lose sight of the why. We exist. We believe we're in business because we believe it can be better. When our clients choose to give us money, it's because they believe we can be better. And how we can be better is by working harder and smarter to understand client data and communication. And what we happen to do is a heck of a lot of stuff on the phone and some email, and we're moving into some text. But the what isn't where the heart comes in. It's the why and the how. And I would really encourage you to watch that. It'll be a powerful journey as you create those circles of why do you do it? Why do they work with you? That is the reason that'll bond you to your customer, to your vendors, to why it happens. Why do you wake up in the morning and do this? Know it. What you do is what you do, but why you do it is where it happens. But this list goes on, and it starts to ask you other crazy questions, like, what are your secondary brand pillars? And if you were a car, what kind of car would you be? And what are the Pantone colors? And how do you feel? And what's the best thing a customer can say about you? But what it does is it allows you to leverage it, because now when I'm traveling a lot or I'm doing something else and somebody needs to speak on our company's behalf, we all know what we stand for. Like, yeah, we drive the Lamborghini, and it's green. Yeah, we know that. No, but what they can say is, we're building out a new application, actually, managing some SMS pieces, and someone was saying, well, I don't know, we're competing against this enormous company, and blah, 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 and how is it going to work? And I said, it's 2 questions. Do you believe we can do it better? Because if you don't believe we can do it better, we say, no, we're out. We can't do it better, we're out. Because it's why we exist. Right? So if you get really clear on those things, almost everything else you have to answer, well, you could just be half asleep. It's really quite nice. It works. So I guess in closing, I would say get deeply rooted. Get deeply rooted in the brand of your company. Get deeply rooted in the brand of yourself. Who are you and what do you stand for? And if I could say one last thing, it would simply be, and it's a piece of advice that I think I kind of, grew over time, and I'll give some of it up to my mom, who's been a stay-at-home mom, actually. But, I think there's a lot of stay-at-home moms that could run some pretty big companies. You got to use your head. Use your head, use your head, use your head. You got to trust your heart. Your heart is where the fuel is. When you align with your heart, your gas tank can never run out. It is full. It is where the juice is. It's where you feel it. It's where you own it, and no one can compete with you. But at the end of the day, you have to go with your gut. Your gut always knows. Have the confidence, just go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tara. And we do have some time for questions. Does anyone have a question to ask Tara? We've only got time for a couple. Oh, here we go, right here. And your question is?
Well, you talked about what you do, but what does your company do? I still don't know what you do.
Okay, awesome. I think this isn't a company pitch. I said, okay, I'll take that seriously. So at SPLICE, we do inbound and outbound voice messaging. So we replace robotic voice. It's probably where about 70% of our revenue comes from. We also do email and customer touch. So we manage all the opt-in lists, whether it's for text, for email, or for voice messaging. And then we cross-reference it against preference. So our mandate right now is that truly we believe people deserve to hear what they want, when they want, where they want, and there should be preference-based communication. The other piece of that that's really big is that, and it actually is the part where I get a lot of my heart out of it, is that we've been storing databases on everything customers do for an absurd amount of time, right? We know a lot about you. So when I phone in for my bank, I do not want to hear main menu, punch in this information. If I phone in from my phone number that you have, you need to recognize me and say, hi Tara, would you like the main menu or your Visa balance? Because guess what I like when I go traveling? My Visa balance. And so it knows that that's what I do when I call at that time. Why isn't it giving me that option? So what we do is we overlay more intelligent conversations by reading real-time data. Does that kind of answer it? Does that help then? Okay, so yeah, so that would be an example of inbound. When somebody calls inbound, we're going to recognize. So if you are into it, I'll give a customer example, and you've just shipped a product and you call inbound to find out, we're going to know based on routing, hey, we just shipped you, and we can tell you that. Do you want to know about product shipment, or do you need to speak to somebody? And if you just want to know about product shipment, we can answer the question right away. Your product was shipped on May 15th to the blah, blah, blah address. Great, you're out. So it's about really making it faster and easier. Some of them are actually VIP communications. We did a lot of work around VIP and loyalty. So an organization like Art Van in the US, huge furniture manufacturer, Rooms to Go, we call out and say, thank you for being a VIP customer. Please come in and get your crystal wine glasses as a thank you gift from us to you. And it's straight up telemarketing. We personalize it. We only use human voice. So we started with voice and splicing together human voice. And then we sort of moved into some other channels within communication. Excellent. Time for one more quick question. Anyone? Just one at the back here. And then we got to rock and roll here. Okay, last question.
What was your most painful mistake and what did you learn from it?
Good question. So I could give one for each company, but I would say overall, each day. Today was no. I would say honestly, it was probably underfunding Simply Health Systems was probably the mistake, because it really was an amazing product. It could have competed, but we bled it out too long, and I didn't act fast enough. I would say it's also combined. This is going to be a bold and daring one. When you know you're not in the right partnership or key people in your executive team, doesn't mean you don't like them as human beings. But when you're not aligned on where you're driving, stop driving together, whatever that looks like. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, thank you very much, Tara. Let's give her a round of applause, and thank you very much for coming out. Tracy Scarlett, from AWE has a token of our appreciation for you joining us today. Time. It's always nice to have a little bit more time, but unfortunately we've got another speaker.